My dear friends, I'm very happy to be with you today. It's a beautiful Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you're watching us through Truth Be Told Radio Network. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and like every Friday, we have this conversation where we discuss a lot of things related to health and well-being and just being healthy and be happy and enjoy our life and enjoy our bodies, because this body of ours that has been given to us was created in perfection, and we have to keep it that way. And that's what we talk about. And even if something goes out of the way, if we have any sort of a health problem, we talk about it too, because we have answers for you. One of the big problems that we have nowadays in the medical world is that we're sold on the idea that whatever happens to us, there is a doctor, there's a drug, there's a hospital that's going to solve the problem. And we don't take any responsibility whatsoever. In part, I have to agree, in part is because of our own responsibility. We have never shared with you the part of that you have to play, the responsibility that you have to have. This is like with our children. I have been always very watchful about how children are raised, and I see parents that become overprotective, and they don't want the child to do anything, and I'll take care of this, and I will make your bed, and I will do your laundry, and I will put everything in its place, etc. And when these kids go out in the real world, mom and dad are not any longer there. So they don't know how to take care of their things. They don't have any responsibility. And we have done that in the medical world. We have, and again, it's part of the doctor's fault, we have convinced you that if you come to me, I will always have a prescription written for you that's going to take care of your problems. And unfortunately, it is not that easy. We grew very arrogant in the first half of at the end of the first half of the 20th century, when we found antibiotics, and then we were able to beat deadly diseases like tuberculosis, and that was the big killer in the 19th century. So in the middle of the 20th century, we discovered sulfa drugs, and then we discover penicillin, and then we discover other more sophisticated antibiotics, and gangrene, we hardly see it anymore. Tuberculosis, we can cure it. And by cure, I mean you get rid of it and you're going to be always healthy. But with many other problems, it has not happened. It has not happened because we have not taken care of ourselves, and we keep on thinking that whatever happens, the doctor, the prescription, the pharmacy, the hospital is going to solve it. And in many cases it will, but in many cases, even in those cases where the doctor can be very, very helpful and the drug can be very, very effective, if you do your part, your suffering is going to be lessened, the time you're going to be sick is going to be shortened. So there are many things we can do to contribute to healing and to well-being. And that's what we talk. And today I was telling you, and I began by telling you that Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's the beginning of the story for today. And when I say Eastern Standard Time, is because when we lived in the old days, and by the old days I might go to 200 years ago, nobody cared about Eastern Standard Time or Pacific Time or whatever. You just got up when the sunlight came up, and you went to bed when the moon came up. So it was simple. But then people started traveling. And it is really traveling what created the problem. Because when we started communicating through the railroad, well, it turned out that if you left at this time here and then you arrived to a different city 24, 48 hours later, it was a different time. Why? Because the world is round and because the sun goes around it. So, to go to the extreme, when it is noon here, somewhere in the world is midnight. And of course you cannot say, have a good day here and in those countries. You have to say good morning here and good night there. So we started separating what we call the time zones. And well, that wasn't that important unless you travel. And those of you that fly to different time zones know the difference. But if you don't have to travel, it doesn't really make too much difference. We're fine. We do our thing every day. We go to bed, we get up, we go to work, we do our daily life without any problem. But then the dreaded date arrives. One day, somebody with a lot of technical explanations, whatever you name it, they tell you that beginning tomorrow you have to get up 1 hour earlier or 1 hour late. In 2022, that dreaded date was March 13. And all of a sudden, you had to move everything 1 hour. And at first glance, it sounds like very simple. Well, sure, move your clock 1 hour, and there you have it. Today is 8 o'clock. Tomorrow, same time, is going to be 9 o'clock or 7. It's going to be 1 hour difference. But it turns out that that clock, that mechanical clock, let's call it, we can just switch it, move something with digital clocks, fantastic. With cell phones, you don't even have to worry. The time will change at 2 a.m. as the time change happens. No problem. But what about our bodies? Our bodies are going to encounter a little problem. Why? Because we have an internal clock. And that internal clock is regulated by sunlight and by our daily activity. So you get up in the morning, you prepare a cup of coffee, you prepare something to eat, you take the kids to school, etc. And tomorrow you have to do it 1 hour earlier. However, your brain at 7 o'clock in the morning is telling you that in your brain it's 6. Come on, you're getting me up 1 hour earlier because somebody said so? Without any explanation, without any preparation, when we travel, we have to. There's no other way. And it's going to be temporary. But here, no, I'm stuck with it for half a year. Only for half a year. Because it's not a change that's for good. So at the end of the year, we're going to reverse the clock. When I'm used to get up at certain time, all of a sudden I have my eyes open, but still too early. So stay in bed. And if you want to go to the movies or if you want to do anything in the evening, well, again, your brain will not match the time of that clock that you have rearranged. So it really creates a problem. I'm going to tell you something, a very funny thing. The US Congress, every time change, gets thousands of communications of people that call their representatives to ask them not to make any changes. It doesn't matter. Leave it here, leave it there, but don't change it. Don't change it twice a year. And then we have to say, okay, let's take a more serious look at the problem, because it is a problem. Your brain works through light. We have our eyes. Now, that light from the eye is going to go through the optic nerve all the way to the back of our brain, the occipital lobe, it's called. In that part of the brain, the image that you're looking at is going to be interpreted. It's going to be, it's going to show what it is. Because our eyes only see light, only transfer information, goes through that big, let's say, cable, or like an electrical cable, goes all the way to the back, and there the image is going to find a meaning. And that is that on that pathway from the eye to the brain, we send a little signal of light to a part of the brain that takes care of many functions. And then that part of the brain, as it gets darker and darker, will send a signal to a tiny little gland that's called the pineal gland. And that's the one that's going to release melatonin. I am sure you have heard of it many times. And melatonin is going to set in motion everything we need to go to sleep. Everything. It's going to shut down everything. It's going to start making you sleepy. There is a time in the evening as the sun goes down when we start yawning and we begin stretching and we begin to have all these symptoms. And you can look at some people and then say, oh, you're sleepy, aren't you? You can tell because there are many signs. Your eyes kind of drop, etc. So all those things are very important because that's telling your body it's time to go to sleep. It's time to stop all activities and we will begin again tomorrow. And then it's the time when you say, well, I think I'm going to retire, thank you, have a good night, it was beautiful being with you, etc. You drive home, you get home, and then you do a lot of routine things that are going to prepare you, that are going to put you in the mood. You go to bed and you go to sleep. And then, have a good night. We'll see you in the morning. In this case, I'll come right back to continue this conversation, so don't go anywhere. I want to be talking about this with you. My friends, I'm really having fun talking about sleep, and because it's a very important subject. And I'm having fun talking bad about time change twice a year. As a doctor, and I'm not being political in any way, just as a doctor, I don't think it is a very good idea. It was a good idea at some point, and probably because of the right reasons, but we didn't know that much about our bodies and our internal clocks, and we just didn't consider that at that point. But now we know a lot more. We have much more information, and I think it's time to rethink this condition that annoys a lot of people. But that annoyment is not because, it's because you really feel bad. You don't feel good. You have a lot of little problems. Because if you don't sleep the hours that you need, there are going to be changes. I mean, physical changes in certain brain chemicals that are going to produce a lot of the problems that we have. We feel confused, we don't have enough attention, we feel sleepy, tired, but we cannot go to sleep, we cannot go back to sleep, etc. So these are real problems produced by a disagreement of the desynchronization between the clock in the wall and the clock in our brain. Because we do it very sudden. You do it 2 a.m., this time was March 13, 2022, 2 a.m., you change the clock in your house, in your wallet, in your cell phone. But your brain, we cannot do that. We will have to wait and adjust, readjust. And it can take days, if not weeks, for many people to get back to that situation. And it naturally happens in a certain way because there's something called SAD, which is a syndrome that happens during, as we approach winter time. As days start getting shorter, nights are every time longer, we have all this affective syndrome that has a little bit of depression. There's an affective depression syndrome that affects, and we, or some doctors call it SAD. So, and we can talk about it also at some point in time. But the idea of nature is to make to help us to get to work every morning, but then rest in the evening. But it's not only resting. There's a lot more to it. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and you know that I have these conversations with you every now and then. We meet actually every Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Truth Be Told Radio Network, and we repeat the same broadcast every Saturday morning, 9:30. But we're also in any social media. We're on Facebook, we're in Twitter, we're in Instagram, we're in YouTube, we're in Twitch, and we have many hours of conversations like this that you can listen. You can listen to, you can share with other people. All you have to do is search Truth Be Told Radio Network on Spotify, and you can listen to some of these broadcasts while you're driving home or when you're resting in the evening. I hope you find interesting or important information. We were talking before that as the night approaches, our eyes, of course, stop sending light to the brain. And as that happens, your brain is going to give a signal to a small gland called the pineal gland that's going to produce a hormone called melatonin. And melatonin is going to make you yawn, it's going to drop your eyes, it's going to make you feel sleepy and so on, and then you can go to sleep. And then it's going to be working through the night. And all through the night, we're going to sleep. We're going to go to a very light sleep in the beginning. That's why when you're just beginning to go to sleep, I can probably call you and say, are you asleep? And you can still probably answer something like, oh no, yes. You don't remember later, but you will answer. And then we go into deeper and deeper and deeper, very restorative type of sleep. So in the first third of your sleeping time, you can go very deep. I mean, something can crash against your house and you will hardly notice. And a lot of things will happen that you didn't hear, that you were not aware. There's a total disconnection from your external information system because your body is all the way within your body. All the way. Because it's doing a lot of things. a lot of very important things. What are we doing? Well, for one, we're not only resting, but we're sending troops of cells throughout the body to repair any damage. It's like a factory. You can see a factory working the whole day and then at night it closes. Well, it might be that a lot of people come in and fix machines and lubricate any system or help the electronic part of it and review the computers and make sure that everything is running. So next morning when everybody arrives to work, everything is working. And that happens to the brain. During that part of sleep, we're going to fix the information we had the day before. And we're going to discard the information we don't need, and we're going to keep the important information. And that's called memory. Tomorrow morning, you're going to be able to remember that you had to do this or that or the other. And you might have forgotten that you had a call of non-important call or spam call or anything like that. Like you forget it because your brain will get rid of it and will keep the information that is considered important. So if we didn't go to sleep, we would never learn. That's simple. Because learning, after all, is not only getting a piece of knowledge, it's also being able to keep it for a long time and being able to use it. We're just like a computer. We're going to put all this information in our hard disk so we can use it in the future to elaborate, to create new information. And that's why when somebody tells you, we have this problem, you say, oh, I saw an ad about this, or I read about this, or I know this person can help. Why? Because you have it in your brain, you have it in your hard disk, you have it hardwired to your brain. That would never happen if we didn't go to sleep. Now, not only that, but we're going to produce a lot of important hormones, very important hormones when we go to sleep. We help insulin. Even though we do not produce insulin at night, we help the resistance to the insulin, and we lower that resistance. So people that don't sleep well have two problems. One, gain weight, and the other have metabolic disturbances, like, for example, with sugar metabolism. Diabetics that sleep better have better control of their blood sugars. And for the same reason, everything derived from that malfunction of the sugar metabolic cycles is going to go wrong as well. I mean, if we don't sleep well, it's going to play havoc with all our metabolic functions. And we can get strokes, and we can get heart attacks, and we're going to gain weight, and we're going to have sugar metabolic disorders. If we're diabetic, it's going to get worse. Our blood pressures are going to go up, etc. So don't let anybody tell you that sleeping is a waste of time. It's like when they take an aircraft after so many hours of flight to a D-check, where they're going to fix and run and check every wire and every window and everything. That's what you do when you go to sleep. So tonight, when you go to sleep, you have to welcome that night, that sleep, because it's going to do a lot of things for your body. Now, when that melatonin is going to stop? When it sees the light, literally. As the morning approaches and the sun starts rising, then the melatonin is going to be inhibited. So we're going to be feeling completely different because we are looking at a different scenario. Melatonin has gone away. But you know what? During the night, while we were sleeping, we were producing steroids. We were producing growth hormone. We were producing thyroid hormone. We produce all of them during our sleep time. So when we wake up, all this starts to function because those levels are going up. So we have energy, we feel good, we want to jump out of bed. Not only that, but we have brain chemicals like acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is the chemical that tells the brain to pay attention, to learn. It's the brain substance that helps you go to school, to go to work, and decide and make all these things. It has norepinephrine. Norepinephrine is the oh hormone. The oh my God, that's what we get when we get surprised. It has the dopamine and the serotonin that are the happiness, the well-being, the everything. All those substances are produced during the nighttime because when you open your eyes, you're going to feel, you're going to be repaired, and you're going to have all the energy, all the backup, all the chemicals you need to have and to make of this a wonderful day. Don't go anywhere. My friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and you know, I'm coming to you through the courtesy of Truth Be Told Radio Network. We broadcast these programs every Friday night at 7:30 p.m. and repeat it at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're on any social media, the one of your choice, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, name it. In all of them, we are going to be available. And why is this important? This is very important because not only you can share information that I think it's important, it's being kind of produced for your information, for your understanding. I don't want to give a conference. I don't want to sound like a scholar or like a scientist or anything like that. I just want to have a one-to-one conversation with you and hopefully being able to get important information that you can use as soon as you stand up, as soon as this program stops. You can say, well, I heard the doctor talking about carbohydrates or sleep like we're talking today, or I heard about cancer and I have a neighbor or I know somebody, etc. And not only that, but you're going to be able to get back to me. You can ask a question, you can make a comment, and you can say, doctor, what about this or what about that? Or I have a question, or I understood this was in a different way, and we can talk about it. All what I want to do is I want to create a network of people that are interested, very interested in what happens from here to the inner part of our bodies, what happens within. Because we were given this body of ours created in perfection. But we have seen how a lot of diseases and problems are really plaguing our lives in this time and age. And when we thought we had conquered a lot of health issues because we got antibiotics and we had a lot of fancy drugs and we got a lot of these things, all of a sudden we see that we're dying literally, we're dying 7 out of 10 people of diseases we brought upon ourselves because of what we smoke, what we drink, what we breathe, what we eat, and what we don't do, which is physical activity. So we are creating our problems. And with the medical world that we have around us, with the technical advances, with all the knowledge we have about our own biology and bodies, we should be in very good shape. We should be very healthy. We should be living very long. And actually, many societies are living long time, like Japanese or Spaniards. But in America, we're looking for the first time at a stagnation in the life expectancy growth. You don't have to believe me. You can go to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, you can go to the National Institutes of Health and see what has happened with life expectancy in the last 5 years in America. It used to be always going up, and all of a sudden kind of stopped, if not began to very little but decrease. We should be living longer. There is no excuse not to live longer, except our own arrogance to think that we can do whatever we want, that we can get away with anything that gives us pleasure. And for some reason, that pleasure comes from cigarette smoking, from alcohol, from high intake of salt, from from grease. There is no way we can do the two things. We cannot have a long, healthy life and do whatever it pleases us, particularly because we have not trained our children to eat right, to live well. We quiet them with sugar. We bribe them with food, with bad food. We say, if you do this, I'll give you that. That's not very smart. No, you do this because that's your duty, because you have to contribute to the well-being of the family. Okay? Because I go to work and I don't have anything, I don't ask for anything in return. Your mother goes to work and still comes back and helps you with homeworks and helps you with things, and she doesn't tell you, I'll do it if you buy me a pizza. But in reverse, we give children the wrong message. You have to be paid to do your own duty. You have no responsibility for the family. And the problem is very simple. One day, you're going to be gone, and those kids will be adults, and they're not well trained for this world. Because when they go to the real world, nobody is going to give them a pizza if they keep traffic signs. Nobody is going to give them a candy if they go to work on time. That's not going to happen. Yet, that's what we're showing them. So the problem begins with the newer generations, because I have to confess that we were ill-trained. Why? Because even doctors told us 50 years ago that a good breakfast was a lot of meats with eggs, with bad fats, with margarine. I remember distinctly when medical doctors told you don't use butter, use margarine. So we overwhelm our lives with processed foods loaded with salt, for example, loaded with refined sugars. So no, we have to teach our children in a different way so they can grow healthy, they can grow to get very old, and we recoup that growth in life expectancy in America. And today we're talking about sleep, which is, again, one of the things that we have turned into a problem. Why? Because of artificial light. We're talking about that when the day goes down, when the sun goes down, when the day is over, the lack of light in our brains is going to tell our brain to release melatonin. And that melatonin, in turn, is going to be helping us with a lot of things. It's going to help us to produce, we were talking of thyroid hormone, steroids, but also testosterone and prolactin, sexual hormones. I mean, if we cannot understand that all of them are very important, I don't know what else can we understand. All these hormones are produced during the nighttime through the stimulus, in many cases, of the melatonin. But then now the sun is going down and we are turning on switches. We never stop. Not only that, but then we get a bright screen this far from our eyes. And our children do it a lot more. Our children watch TV, play games on a bright screen, do all sorts of things on their cell phones, and they don't get to have a good release of melatonin. So they're going to have interrupted sleep, they're going to sleep less hours, they're going to sleep very late because they until they finally crash, they will not stop doing these things because, again, nobody takes care of them. Nobody tells them when to stop. And then in the morning, they have 4 or 5 hours of sleep. What's going to happen? Well, we're talking about acetylcholine being released during the sleep. Well, they don't have enough. How can they pay attention in school? How can they learn if they don't have the proper chemicals in their brains? Then this is the time to say, we are going to begin making changes. And yes, we can probably watch TV at night in the family. What's the difference between this and the TV? That the radiation that anything produces, a light bulb, the sunlight, etc., it gets brighter as you get closer to the source. When you're on your cell phone, you have that bright light few inches from your eye. When you're watching TV, and I remember ever since I was a kid, people told you, don't get too close to the TV. Now, if the TV is back there and you're sitting here, yeah, there's light, but there's not that brightness that's going to be blocking your melatonin release. Right now, if you look at your cell phone, you're going to see that it has an application or a mode, I don't know how you call that, where you can change the light of the screen to make it a little bit more friendly. Because cell phone companies know that is a problem. The cell phone company knows. Not the parents, not the teacher, not the doctor. So listen to the phone company and see, I'm going to take a look at the phone, I'm going to look for that light-saving application in my cell phone to do it in the evening. And even some phones have a timing. You can say turn this to this mode, let's say at 9 o'clock p.m. and get back to normal at 6 a.m. So if somebody calls you, you're not going to have all this bright light. In the old times, you remember probably that when you went to a dark room, because you were working in photography, that dark room had a red light, not a white light. Because if you had a white light, it will ruin all your work. So yes, sunlight is God-given, but He gave us only so many hours. And that's the way we're built. That's the way our children are built. And if we love our children and we respect them, we want them to make the best of themselves throughout the day. So this is what I talk about. And I don't want you to say you're right. I want to say I'm going to think about it. I'm going to review it. Right now with internet, you can go to 1,000 sources and get more information. That will make my day. We'll be back. My dear friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez. I'm with you. I'm very happy to be with you. I hope some of the words I'm telling you will make you think of certain things, make you go to your computer and find more information, and just thinking about it and say, well, he might be right, or I can share some of his ideas, etc. That will make me very happy. But if you have any questions, if you have any comments, remember that we can connect through any social media of your choice. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we are on YouTube, we're in Twitch. Now we have so many things that I lost count of them, but nevertheless, the connectivity is such that we can have a conversation every time you want. If you have a question, if you have a comment, here we are for you. And if you think some of the information you heard caught your attention or gave you any hints about good things you could introduce to your life, share it with other people. And all you have to go is you have to search for Truth Be Told Radio Network in Spotify, and you're going to have well over 100 hours of conversations like this that you can share in any part or in anything with friends, with family, listen to them when you're driving in the evening, when you're relaxing. And we're talking about sleep. So the fact that you can listen to these programs in the evening is a very good idea. Because number one, we have to be away from light the more we can. We have to look for dim lights. That's what the evenings are for. I mean, there's nothing wrong with candlelight. Actually, during the COVID pandemic, I proposed using candles for dinner. Why? Because they create an updraft of hot air that when you're talking with somebody that's in front of you, all your breath and their breath is going to be updrafted, and as it goes up, it's going to be burned by the flame of the candle. And you're going to actually be creating sterile air. When you look at a film, when you go to a laboratory, those of you that work in a laboratory, we always turn on a flame next to our working area because you create an area of sterility. No bugs, no bacteria, no fungi are going to be within certain area. So I transferred the same idea to my dinner table and put 2-3 candles. You can get a nice candle holder, nice bee-wax candles, and it's going to look very nice, very romantic, very, very inviting to relaxation. Because flames, are very, very inviting to relaxation. So we can do that. And we can do that now that we're talking about sleep, because if we start following certain routines in the evening that will induce sleep, we're going to sleep better. We're going to sleep deeper. And we're going to be able to do what we want to do. Because now I know that as light dims, my brain is going to tell my pineal gland to start releasing melatonin. And that melatonin is going to be literally turning a lot of switches off within the body. And that is mainly the connections of our body with the external world. After a while, we're going to be deep sleep. We will not be able to hear. We will not be able to see. We will not be able to feel. How many times have you gone and moved someone who's really deep sleep? No response. They're gone. All the communication of their bodies is within. Everything has been cut off by the melatonin. But at the same time, it's going to tell the body that, okay, the body is doing nothing, it's not working, it's relaxing. I can give you all the energy, I can give you all the oxygen, I can give you my undivided attention to do important things that I couldn't do during the day because I was doing the laundry, because I was going to work, because I was running, because I was, etc. So now I can have my undivided attention to heal my body, to learn things, put them in the memory, to heal my brain cells, and to start producing everything I need for tomorrow. What's that? Mainly hormones, mainly very important substances. Almost all of sexual hormones, like testosterone and prolactin, are going to be made during this time. So if you want to be healthy in that area, one of the things you have to do is sleep well. Your thyroid, you need a good metabolic situation, you have to sleep well. Your steroids, that's very important. If you measure the steroids through a 24-hour cycle, you're going to see that we begin the day with a very high steroid level. That's why in the morning we feel like doing things. Oh, let's go here, let's go there. And probably sometime in the evening, if I tell you let's go hiking, you're going to send me hiking. You're going to say, okay, man, I don't feel like it. Why? Because the steroids are going to be used up through the day, and at the end of the day, we're low. But then we go to sleep, and the body has the chance to start producing, stocking, creating more and more for the next day. And about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, they're going to be released in the bloodstream. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, we have a lot. And at that time, we're going to turn off melatonin, because light in our eyes, even if you're sleepy, light can be sensed, and it stops melatonin, and then we start releasing all these hormones. And then we start releasing very important hormones. Norepinephrine, don't even worry about the word, is a hormone that's going to do the opposite. Turn on all the switches for the external contact. Then your skin, your eyes, your ears, your palate, everything is going to start getting in synchrony with the external world. And now you're becoming aware of everything around you. And acetylcholine also, well, that was norepinephrine, and then we have acetylcholine that's going to let us focus. That's the one when you go to work and you say, oh, don't forget this, do that, do the other. You're very focused. You're not confused like, what was I going to tell you? I turned on the computer because I was going to do that. That's lack of acetylcholine. And that's because of poor sleep or interrupted sleep. If you have broken sleep, it's as bad as not sleeping well. So what we have to do is we have to create the conditions for a healthier sleep. And if, for any reason, you're not getting a good night's sleep, you have to start finding out what it is. It might be a lot of light, might be loud music, might be high stimuli around yourself. And you have to begin working with that. If you want to use melatonin, just make sure you do it regularly. By that I mean you cannot take melatonin as sleeping pill. If you're going to take it, and you can talk it about with your doctor, the best way to do it is do it early in the evening, like 6 o'clock, and let's say you do it regularly, every day, every day, every day. It's not sleeping pill, okay? And while I say that, let me tell you something that I'm glad I remember because I wanted to talk about this. Whatever happened with the 5 o'clock dinner? America used to have dinner at 5. I don't know who eats at 5 anymore. I don't think nobody. But that's the perfect time to have dinner because you have at least 3-4 hours before you go to bed. And if you have a big meal and drink and then you go to bed, you're going to have all this rumble and moving and etc. inside your tummy that of course will not let you concile a deep sleep. And then you're going to wake up in the middle of the night with acid reflux, with a lot of problems and so forth. If you have a 5 o'clock dinner and then you relax and talk and don't watch the news, but do something that's relaxing and nice and beautiful, have a cup of tea with your family, etc., you're going to be fine. By the time you go to bed, your stomach is going to be quiet. So, I don't know what happened. But anybody that's my age or like that has to remember that it was a fixed thing. 5 o'clock dinner. Now, if you go to any restaurant at 5 o'clock, it's going to be empty. At 6, it's going to be empty. Activity in a restaurant begins at 7, and that's for the early birds. It's really 8, 9 o'clock, even 10 o'clock when people are eating dinner. Not only that, but they're drinking. So don't say nobody told you. And then again, it's a matter of your responsibility, your education to your children. I cannot go there and ring a bell and say it's dinner time. You have to know that it's very advisable, that it's very healthy, that's very prudent to do that. And if you don't have to have alcohol, don't do it. Sometime we're going to talk about it. 1 drink a day is too much. You can have a drink on Christmas, your birthday, special reunion, but don't drink every day. Don't make it an everyday event. It's simply not good. It's simply not going to help you in any way. So you have to start putting things together to live longer, healthier, and making sure that those that are your responsibility follow through the same type of protocol. We want to live longer, but we want to be healthier. Talk to you next week.